Good evening. It is Monday night. Man, I'm beat. And I know I look beat. I don't need everybody to tell me. I know I'm tired. I look tired. And I'm most lucid in the mornings. If you think I tend to lose my train of thought frequently in videos, then I apologize in advance for what might happen now at this late hour for me. Which is not really late, but I run out of fucking brain power as the day progresses. Anyway, the best in the mornings. Just is what it is. It wasn't always that way. Just another thing about aging, how it affects me. I want to talk about a really good subscriber, Gorilla Brother, member of our family, has been after me to make a video on the topic of anger management. That he has problems dealing with his anger, controlling his anger. And, as you all know, I'm no expert or no authority as far as it's not within my educational background or anything like that. But I certainly have experience with anger, as do most people. And, some of us, a lot of us, and I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this, you know exactly what it's like to kind of, after enough years and seeing what's been going on with society, I don't know if it's the old man in me that, gets nostalgic and imagines it was better when I was a kid than it is today, or if it just really was better. I think it just really was. I think overall we've become more desensitized in that society is just, I don't know. I could be wrong. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and one's just as valid as the next, I guess. But I think a lot of it has to do with people, your average people. They don't want to be responsible for their own behavior anymore. They're relieved of that responsibility. They're not responsible for what they say. They're not responsible for what they do. Because everybody's kind of been dehumanized, sort of, They're locked in your car, and their behavior is probably at its worst in certain areas when they're locked in their car, because then they can completely dehumanize everyone else. They're in their own little bubble, and everyone else is in their bubble, and they don't recognize each one of these bubbles as a human being, under the control or auspice of a fellow human being. So, they're disrespectful, and they do a lot of things and behaviors that they wouldn't do to you out in the real world. In other words, they behave in ways that they don't really carry it in day-to-day life. That all these people that carry on like that and cut you off and act like a fool in the car, when they get out of that car, all those people, if you're in line waiting to get a cup of coffee, they're not going to be pressing up on you to rush you or stepping on your heels, or much less butt up around you because you're not moving up quickly enough or something. They're not going to do that at all. They're going to be quiet as mice. But they get in that car, and all of a sudden, hurtling down the road, and, a couple 1,000 pounds of steel surrounding them, and they feel safe or separated from your world, and they get away with all kinds of things. They think it's okay. It's an excuse. So that's just a little bit of commentary on the side note there. But I think it's indicative of whatever type of, digression seems to be running rampant in our society here, at least in this country, nowadays. And so, after enough years exposed to this kind of behavior, you begin to get full up to here with bullshit, and your tolerance for bullshit gets to be very short. And I understand how it can be very easy to get irritated at things, and to fly off the handle. So, all I can do is, like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm not a therapist or anything. But things that I've found cathartic to help me manage my own anger issues. And don't be holier than thou and sit there and say, well, I don't have anger issues. Maybe you don't, and if you don't, God bless, and I'm happy for you, and I wish that were me, because that means you're probably much, much happier day to day. since you don't get angry at anything. But me, like I said in another video, I used to have problems with people cutting me off and carrying on and acting like this, especially as I got down towards the city where I work in that area. Much different than out here in the country. It really is much different. People behave differently, very disrespectful and rude. And it used to really, really get me steamed. By the time I would get to work, because it's like an hour drive, sometimes a little longer in that kind of traffic, by the time I got there, I was already in a shit mood. It just set the stage for having a day that would be not as comfortable or, dare I say, potentially maybe even kind of enjoyable, just not as good, and not even as productive as it could otherwise be without all this antagonism. But here's the thing you got to remember. Whatever anybody does to push your buttons, they didn't put those buttons there. So that's what you have to consider. You own those buttons, and just as they don't want to own their behavior, you need to own yours too. And that means you've got to be in control of yourself. Because no matter where you're at in life or where you're at in the world, or what time it is, you can be surrounded in chaos, but if you're in control of yourself, then you are in control. Because truly, that's all you can ever hope to control. If you control yourself, then you are in control. I mean, to a large extent, you can walk into a room. Let me give you an example how great this power can be once you get a grasp on it. Say you go into the gym and, you know, your gym's usually full of a bunch of busters, and they all like to sit around man watching, you know what I mean, stuff like that, rather than working out. And you're just not in the mood, and it's irritating to you. Maybe that's your perception. And people's reality, individual reality, for that person, the individual, is based on their perceptions. Their perceptions, more or less, are their reality. But if you walk in there with the idea that you own the room, and you're going to set the mood the way you want it, guess what? You can. And you can do it easily. If you walk in there, instead of expecting that or being prepared for that or being, you know, a little bit put off by having to be around that and you know it's coming, walk in there with a whole different, you know, throw all that aside, walk in there with a clean slate and start speaking to everybody. People you would never normally speak to. A guy that you happen to glance over and you think he's mean mugging you or whatever, speak kindly to him. Hey bro, how you doing, man? How you doing tonight? You know, try it. Don't just one person, talk to everybody. Next thing you know, that in itself, you will change the entire mood of the room. If the mood was otherwise, you will change it and make it better. You'll lift the whole room. One person can do that, because that's the power of positivity. If you don't believe it, try it. You'll be surprised. Try it. And it kind of goes on from there. Like I said, if you're in control of yourself, then you're in control. Now, some of the things that I have always practiced, that I found it works, I always practice now, that I found works, is the one thing I told you about is that every time I would go off when driving, you know, I started taking accounting of how frequently it occurred, how many times. And I was so flabbergasted at the actual number of times it occurs in the course of my drive, you know, to work or from work home, that I started to go take it another step further and call myself out each time and apologize, right? And remind myself, you know, the world's already got enough negativity in it. It doesn't need me adding to it. Doesn't need any of my shit. And as I kept slipping, I'd still slip. You know, somebody cut me off or whatever, and I'd be, that stupid son of a, and then I'd be like, oh my God. So it didn't stop me from doing it. Not at first. But it did hold me responsible and accountable. And I would catch myself and I would apologize. And I would actually say, you know, this is my thing, you do your thing. And I would say, you know, Lord, I'm sorry, forgive me for that. You know, the world's got enough negativity in it. It doesn't need me adding to it. And I made sure I did that every time. So I was doing that all the way to work and home. But then as the days progressed, it became fewer and fewer instances that I slipped. And then one day, without even thinking about it, I just drove to work. And my mind was other places. And when I got there, I was fresh and alert and wide awake. And it felt like that drive was like really short and quick. And I looked at the clock, and it wasn't. It was as long as always. But that's the way it seemed because my mood was elevated. And I realized, wow, I'm all the way at work, and I didn't have one flare-up. And that's how I got a handle on that. And the other thing that I do that's really big that helps a lot, I utilize that time. I don't waste time because time is money. The coins, the pile of gold coins you have, and there's not an infinite number. There's a finite number of these coins, and each one represents the value of one day you get to live. One day, when you're out of coins, you're out of days. So that means you have to keep, look at those coins and spend them wisely. Be very frugal about how you utilize that day, because that day cost you one of those coins, one of those precious coins, right? Think of it in those terms. And so what I do, since I can't waste that time or fritter that time, that hour, sometimes plus, that I drive to work and then back, so what I do is I have conversations with myself. Yeah, there's going to be people who say, oh, that's crazy, or that's stupid, or whatever. Look, I don't care, all right? My self-worth doesn't require your validation. That's one other thing a lot of people don't get, because you know why? They're not there yet. Doesn't have any effect on me. A lot of you people are there, a lot of you guys are there, a lot of you girls are there, you know what I'm saying. But a whole lot of them, especially the busters, they don't get that, because theirs truly does. They're complete opposite. But, so what I do is I actually have a conversation with myself. Whatever topic arises, is in my head, I will actually talk to myself. And you know how they say, oh, well, if you talk to yourself, you're just really in trouble when you start to answer yourself. Well, you know what? I talk to myself and I answer myself. And I will talk through things I need to work on, or things I'm thinking about or I still have yet to do, things unresolved, plans and ideas. I talk these through with myself out loud all the way to work and all the way home. And you know what it does? It eats that time up. And I don't notice all the people that I would think are morons, the way they drive on the road. I don't even notice it. I just go about my business and navigate through, because my mind's elsewhere. I'm on bigger and more important things. I'm utilizing that time in a way that proves beneficial to my development. And you know what? It works. So, busters, scoff all you want. But keep treading that water and not moving anywhere. Keep treading that water. That's not my thing. It's not for me. So if you're about improving yourself, what do you have to lose to try it? What do you have to lose? So that's what I try to do. Those are two big things that have worked very well for me. Another thing I picked up from my girl is a mantra that she taught me that she says. It's very easy. And what I do is, if I do become aggravated or feel myself becoming aggravated, once I recognize it, I will say to myself, peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. And I'll say that, and I'll be driving, and I'll have one hand down here counting it on my fingers. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. And I will continue to do this. I'll recite this. I will recite this over and over and over. Just like a little kid that's been punished and has to write something out over and over on a chalkboard. I'll recite this until I'm even again, until I'm on an even keel and it's left me. And it works. It's called discipline. And I have to practice it. It's not like it's just right there that I can open a drawer and pull it right out when I need it. I have to practice it in those regards. Okay, we're all very regimented. We know when to go to lift. We know what body part to train. We know how to arrange our workouts. We know what to eat and when to eat and how to eat. And all these things, we put all this thought and this time in and this planning. But what do we plan for as character development and self-improvement in those regards? And I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that I think everybody out there needs this. I'm not saying that. If it applies in any way, or if you think it maybe could benefit you, then maybe you should try it. And you know what? I'm open to suggestions and I will try them. So if any of you guys or girls see this and you have a suggestion for me that works for you, let me know it. Let me know it so I can try it. Because that's what we're here for, man. We're here to lean on each other, man. We're here to support each other. Not this petty bantering back and forth. Leave that for those busters. Leave that outside the door. This is a whole different room we have here. Right? 18,000 strong now. Good and decent people. Pro-humanity, anti-bullying, right? Somebody's hungry, you feed them. They're cold, you give them a fucking blanket. You know what I mean? Humane beings. So, we all fall short. Nobody's perfect, and nobody expects or is asking anybody to be perfect. All we ask is that together we try. We try to be better. That's all. We try to be better. We try to walk the walk. So those are some of the things that I do. And I find meditation helps a lot. Meditation helps a whole lot. I can sit sometimes and just be alone with my thoughts. You know, or you know what, another thing is your environment is a huge thing. For me, it's a big influence. But it's easy here for me. It's very easy. It's easy for me to go sit out here on the wall or on the stone and just take in the nature and the birds. And we have all these bird feeders. I mean, it's so awesome, these birds. Love these birds. And just look at the beautiful plants and just the life, all the life just blooming everywhere. You know, the trees and just everything. And it's just so relaxing and tranquil. So it's in your environment too. It can be very challenging. You know, if you live someplace where there's all kind of sirens going off all the time outside the window and lots of racket happening, I can see where that's very challenging. But nobody said it's going to be easy. You know what I mean? Maybe we're not that kind of, bunch. Maybe it's not going to be easy. Easy would be nice. But I don't know if I'd know what to do with easy. You know? Anyway, that's all I got. I know it's not a hell of a lot, but like I said, we all fall short, man, and I'm far from perfect. So, and again, I'm not preaching to anybody, not lecturing anybody, just sharing ideas. Just sharing ideas. So if you guys got any ideas to share with me, please do share them. I appreciate them. I appreciate the help. Other than that, have an excellent night, and I'll talk to you again very soon.